Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It is Sunday evening. I have had a restful afternoon and there I was, firing through the computer, looking up the pages I normally look up, which includes government announcements. And on the government announcements, is there not, it would seem, or it has been proven even because I've got it, a letter from Shapps to the CEOs of domestic energy suppliers in Great Britain. So, Mr. Shapps, obviously I'm just going to read it out to make sure that you're getting exactly what it says. As you know, protecting consumers remains the priority for the government as we tackle the problems caused by high global gas prices. The government's energy price guarantee will save a typical British household around £900 this winter, on top of the £400 discount off of bills through the Energy Bill Support Scheme. I am also very grateful for your continued partnership with us improving the energy efficiency of British homes through the Energy Company Obligation and other schemes. First paragraph. So, that's him telling how fabulous the government is doing. Next paragraph. I am writing to you now to set out my expectations on the setting of consumer direct debits. And my wee ears went, oh, because I know there's a lot of people with direct debits where the direct debits have just gone through the roof. Now, that was, if you've seen my previous video, which was way back, that was why I stopped paying my bill through direct debits. I did it a few years ago because my £150 per month bill went to £347 per month after a cold winter. Now, I wasn't behind in the payments. I had paid up the extra and everything, but they wanted, and they actually took the first £347 out my bank. And I phoned the bank and went, wah! And stopped the direct debit. So I now just pay every single month. I don't wait until quarterly, although that's how often I get billed. I still pay just every month. And this is going to be, the bill that's due now is going to be my first bill since the prices went up. And looking at my meter readings, etc., it's going to be pretty hefty. Although I do think that one of my meter readings is exceedingly wrong, so we will be having a discussion about that. But anyway, back to the letter. So, direct debits. So he goes on, he's setting out his expectations on the setting of consumer direct debits. It is critical that consumers are able to manage their bills effectively, and direct debit can be an efficient way for families to smooth their energy costs over the year. However, I was disturbed to read media reports that some consumers are saying their direct debits are going up when they are making huge efforts to reduce their usage to save money at a time when household incomes are squeezed. How many of us are reducing what we're using? I would say just about everybody. So yes, definitely these direct debit increases need to be looked at. He then carries on to say, it is in all our interest that when consumers take sensible steps to reduce their own bills, such as reducing their boiler flow temperature or making their homes more energy efficient, that they are able to see an impact in their bills. I am very keen that all suppliers find a way to make their systems more responsive to these positive changes in consumer behaviour, and have asked Ofgem to report to me on how this can be achieved. So he's asking Ofgem how can they do this. His final paragraph. With other costs increasing for households, it is critical that we do what we can to help. I am interested to understand how you intend to ensure that your direct debit system does not overestimate charging. Now, as you know, your direct debits most of the time are based on what you used this time last year, what you used this time 2 years ago. And depending on whether it's been a bad winter, as I've just told you about the difference in mine, it can make a huge difference. Now, Mr. Shapps has obviously written to the energy companies and said, I expect you to have a look and be more responsive So basically, if you were using 1,000 units in November last year, but you're only using 500 in November this year, your direct debit should not go up as much as if you were using the £1,000 that you used last year. However, this is where I'm not quite sure what I'm talking about. You know, we've heard the letter. However, I am presuming, and please, if anyone works in this industry, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm presuming most of it's computerised. So your new direct debit is set by the computer on what you used last year. So unless you contact them and say, excuse me, what is this? Then nothing will be done and they will just expect you to pay that. So my advice to everyone is, if your direct debit has gone up by a hefty amount, please contact your energy company, because that is, I think, certainly the first step. But also, just as another wee story off to the side, as you know, I've told you before, I'm a housing association house, 2 bedrooms, semi-detached. Next door, there was a lady who became widowed, and her energy bill was 3 times mine. Now, at the time, I was not skimping on my energy. I had the storage heaters on, you know, I was making food in the oven for Kathleen and I had the tumble dryer on. We were not skimping. She was. In her own words, she had the heating on at a peep. And yet she was paying double what they were asking me for in my direct debits, because that was back when I was actually paying direct debit. So I don't know, 3 years it took her to get that sorted. She had engineers out at least 3 times that I know of. And she argued and she argued and she argued. And eventually at the end of 3 years, when she was leaving the house, that's when they got it sorted out. So yeah, just something to remember. Keep a close eye on your electricity usage. Keep a close eye on your direct debits. But basically what I'm thinking is, if it's got to the stage that a government minister is writing to the energy companies, how bad do you think it is when the government has to be seen to step in? I leave that thought with you. I will go now. I hope you have a lovely Sunday evening, and I will catch you later.